Hi, everybody. Jennifer on your right, Gayanne Rogers on your left. Welcome, everyone. Glad to have you.
Hi.
All kinds of stuff. Gayanne, a late afternoon addition to the show. Um, we're going to talk about colors. And Gayanne's been getting some comments from people who are working on the Mystery in Saint-Tropez project and wondering about colors. So she agreed to join us to talk about that. So even if you're not doing the Saint-Tropez project, hang around because you'll probably learn something about color by the time we're done monkeying around here tonight. So glad to have you, Gayanne. Thanks. Yay.
Well, thanks, Gary. Hi,
So
Jennifer.
tonight we Gayanne and stitching and whatever happens, we'll see. Sarah Dennis is Sunday's guest. Do not miss Sarah Dennis. I say that every week, but I really like them. Sarah Dennis is Royal School of Needlework. You know, all the trappings for needlework and all the techniques. Teacher, whole bit. Fascinating lady, really talented. So join us for that Sunday. Don't miss that one. I set up a Mystery in Saint-Tropez stitch group on Facebook so that we have a way to communicate, and Gayanne will be monitoring that. And the URL is up at the top. Now we did
Oh,
had
there. Yeah.
this afternoon we had two people. One could find it and one couldn't. Facebook, you know. So that's the
Can you type in?
URL.
Can you type in Fiber Talk and get there? Or you, Gary Parr, Fiber Talk and get there too? Up
I didn't
here?
set. I don't know. I don't think I have that set up like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can just search for Mystery in Saint-Tropez Stitch Group, or you can use that URL, whichever, and then ask to join. I made it a private thing, so you have to ask to join, and then I'll add you after the show. But if you find it, ask to join. If you don't find it, let us know, because then something's wrong. There's not many options with Facebook, so I don't know why one could find it and one couldn't. But anyway, we're starting that group one way or another. We'll get it figured out, and then you can join that and participate, show your things, ask questions, get help. Gayanne will pop in and answer questions for you, and so we have a central place to communicate. And so give that a try and let me know if it doesn't work. And I don't know what I'm going to do because I've tried everything. But anyway, that's on Facebook. Then I set up a video page at wetalkfiber.com. So the videos that we have done, the 3 videos that we've done so far about this are there. And then I'll add tonight's show because that's what we'll be talking about a good portion tonight with Gayanne. I'll add that. And then Beth has made a playlist on the YouTube channel for Mystery in Saint-Tropez. So several places to see those videos. So just doing everything we can here to help you out. Last week's winners, or 2 weeks ago winners, last week went to see my sister, surprised my dad. Monday night, my sister's power went out, and I arrived Tuesday morning, and I left Thursday morning, and she got her power back Thursday afternoon. So, yay, that was fun.
Oh dear.
Fortunately, it was cool and comfortable, but yeah, it was entertaining. But we made the best of it. So anyway, 2 weeks ago when we had the drawing, we had counted canvas charts from Marcy Brown, and those went to Anne Marie Mikowski, Ruth Ellen Burns, and Lori Nemeke. I think I have that. They were mailed out many days ago, so I'm sure you all have it. Then the Army chart, that unusual cross-stitch Army emblem chart, that went to Rick Mulway. So I'm sure those folks all have them. If not, the post office is really struggling. So tonight we have in the giveaway, we have a double thing. It's down here at the bottom. So again, those who have never done the giveaways, you send an email. It's just for people who are watching the live show. You send an email during the show to Gary@wetalkfiber.com, and there are 2 options tonight. One, and then you put the subject flare or cross in the subject line, one or the other. Don't type in flare or cross because that won't work. You put in flare and then your name and address in the body of the email, and that gets you in the drawing for one of 3 of our little packs of Rainbow Gallery threads.
That's
Okay,
nice.
so there's a package of Flair, there's a package of Frosty Rays, and a package of Neon Rays. So
Nice.
these are just stash builders. So you send an email to me, Gary@wetalkfiber.com, and you put Flair in the subject line and your name and address, and that gets you in the drawing for one of these 3. And that's only during the show. If you're not here for the live show, sorry, can't do it. Then, if you also want to enter, or in addition or otherwise, if you want to enter for 3 cross-stitch packages, then we have those. So there's 3 of them tonight. One is a lavender and lace Victoria Designs, the quilt maker.
Ooh,
There's
pretty
that one.
nice.
It's full of threads. The bag is full of threads. I did
Oh,
not
wow.
I did not take the list and compare the threads to see if they're all there, because not my problem. So you win the chart and you win this bag of threads, which I assume match up with the chart here, but I'm not going to check it for you. So you'll get that. So basically, other than ground cloth, the full kit. So that's one.
Nice.
And then this one is really nice, from Just Nan, High Hopes, and there's a little bird bath thing that goes. So that's High Hopes,
Oh, cute.
cross stitch, and then you get the little metal bird bath thing that goes.
Right. Is that a kitty watching the birdie bath, waiting for birds
That
to
is
come?
a
so it can
kitty
bounce?
watching the bird bath with the birds sitting up high. That's
Nice.
exactly what that is. So
Cute.
that's a Just Nan one. So that's another one for the drawing tonight. And then I had these from the Prairie Schooler, and it's a Sunny Days. These are little I don't know.
Little
Are they
minis,
little
kinda.
miniatures?
Yeah.
They look like they're little miniature. Ooh, I like those.
The
Super
the
cute.
cardboard you cut 2 by 2 and 5/8, so it's just little things. So
Little ornaments.
this one is
things.
Sunny Days, and then I had another one, Signs of Spring, and it just
Oh,
seemed like
wow.
if you had the spring, you had to have the summer, and the
Is
summer
that
and
a
the
hen
spring.
up there? Is that a hen at the top?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, that's nice. Hen.
So it just seemed like you needed to have both. So the winner of this one will get both, Sunny Days and Signs of
Wow.
Spring. You'll get both charts.
Awesome. Well,
Nice
that's it.
giveaways.
Yeah.
So-
This week's giveaways are spectacular.
Yep.
Woohoo.
Yeah. So here's I'll move it around so nobody can copy But anyway, so you get all 8.
Good luck
In
trying
the,
to copy
all 8 in
that
those.
from that.
So that's the thing.
goodness.
So if you want to be in the cross stitch, if you want to try to get the cross stitch things, you send an email that says in the subject line the word cross, and your name and address in the body, and send that during the show, and then you'll be in a drawing for one of these 3. And then if you want to be in the drawing for the Rainbow Gallery threads, then you send another email, a separate email with the subject line Flair, and that gets you in that drawing. Enter one, the other, or both, not just one entry per, though. Please don't double up on me. It gets annoying. So, one, the other, or both,
Nice.
but I don't care about that part. Just don't double enter or triple enter in each of them, because it just annoys me.
Right.
Yeah. So that's all of that. Blah, blah,
Nice.
blah. That's all that.
Yep.
Now,
Josie already found the Facebook group and she's requested to join.
all right, some
Oh,
success.
see,
then.
she goes
We've got
in.
one.
We got one.
We've
Okay.
got one plus me. I'm
Now,
first.
yeah,
And,
now the
I'm
committee.
going to go and
Yeah.
I'm going to check in there all the time and straighten out these color issues. I'm going to
Okay.
help
Oh.
see if I can
Okay.
help people straighten them out.
So now Josie, she's going to be special. We're going to have a committee meeting to see if she can join. We're going to have to, because yeah, no. If you remember, I talked back in August and posted on Instagram the massive box of threads that we sent to Rebecca Dallimore for the Stitch St. Luce Women's Cooperative. The threads in Madagascar, Seed Madagascar, that operation. I got email from Rebecca. This is how these things go. That was August 3 that I posted that picture in the post office. Email yesterday that it arrived. So the box finally got to
That's our
England.
post office.
Yep, the box got to England. All right, now that's step one. It got to
Oh,
England. So,
gosh.
so Rebecca wrote to me last night. Thank you, all caps, exclamation points, everything. I've secured the package. What a fantastic box of goodies for the Stitch Cooperative. I'm going to drop it with our managing director at the end of the month, and from there it will be split and shared between volunteers going out to Madagascar for the October research program and with staff returning to Madagascar after the Christmas holidays. I'll be sure to send through pictures when the supplies start arriving in St. Louis, and please do pass on my immense thanks to everyone who supported this. So,
No.
huge thanks to everyone. That was a massive box of thread that we sent to help the ladies in Madagascar with their business. And but it shows you, because they can't just put those in a box and ship them to Madagascar because they just don't get there. Somebody takes them with them somewhere. So as people go to Madagascar, I remember when we were talking, when we did the podcast with her long ago, then they have to pack these in suitcases and take them. That's the only way they can be assured that the threads get there. You just can't just ship them. So it's obviously going to take into the new year before they can get them all there. But a tremendous effort by everyone, and that was a big box of threads, and I know they're going to be more than happy to receive them when they all get there. And then, like I said a couple weeks ago, that email me, same addresses below, Gary at wetalkfiber.com. Email me, I'll give you my address, because we have them sent right here to the home, so I'm not going to put that on the screen. And I'll send you an address, and then you can send them. So we're looking for skeins of DMC floss or equivalent, and not that cheap schoolgirl bracelet DMC floss, but legitimate DMC floss, or others, Anchor or something else, but stuff that you would stitch with. And then sharp needles. Those are the only two things they want. And any colors, they love the bright colors, yellows, blues, reds, they love those. But, so if you have some stuff in your stash that you know you're just never going to use, they'll put it to use and they'll make money using it. So send it to me. I got one today for a second round, just today. And I know there's at least one more coming. So if you want to participate, didn't the last time, or did the last time and found more, you know how that happens, feel free to send it. And we'll do another mailing here. I'll wait 3 or 4 months, so it's not something you got to do tomorrow. I'll wait 3 or 4 months, and then we can send another package to Rebecca, because I know they'll use it. Those ladies down there, that's how they're bringing in extra money for food and education and all the things that they need in Madagascar. So more than happy to keep helping them. But thanks to everyone who contributed threads and needles, and thanks to also very much to the people who contributed for postage, because that wasn't cheap. And so we got enough money in from that the pain to me was pretty trivial. So I really appreciated that. So anyway, a very cool thing that we did, and Rebecca, I know, is very appreciative of that. And I'll have her on in the fall sometime with a podcast to just kind of get an update about what they're doing and how they're doing it. But bravo for that. So send your emails now. We're going to talk to Gayan here. Send your emails so you don't forget. I'll remind you at the end of the show, but send them so that you get in the drawings if you want to. Nobody's obligated, certainly. So that's all I got. Oh, only 15 minutes to do that. Yay. Okay, Gayan has had some feedback from people, and so she wrote to me today and said, I've got some feedback and I can offer some help. And so I said, hey, join us, and she did. So Gayan, share with us what you've learned here.
What I learned was that people are struggling a bit, particularly if the color of the canvas and the color theme, and different ways of getting around how it doesn't show up at all. And that there are lots of ways to get around all. One of them is there was somebody who had a red canvas and red overdye on the top of it. And the red overdye just didn't show. So I think the major thing you have to do is, if you're going to use the same color as the ground, you have to find things that go around it or over it or on top of it that will highlight it and raise it up, usually something lighter.
Okay.
I
Now,
think that's the major. So then if you get something going on the top of it, around it, say a single row of something on either side of it, that delineates it from the background, and then stitching over the top of it. And then the next thing that goes out could be lighter still to give it a little breathing room so that it shows off, so that the background does become the background. It doesn't become a part of the center motif. So, and somebody did it. I don't remember where I saw it. Somebody did it very skillfully. And she went from having no center to suddenly the center was shining.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good. Red is, the two colors that are hard to use on this are red and black. Real black. I hardly ever use real black because it's just so black. And red is so red. And what do you use for a light red? It either goes pink or orange. What is light red? I haven't found a light red yet. I found one in a Soie d'Alger that's good, but that's not so saturated.
Yeah.
I think generally, as you're looking at your colors for this project, well, let me start with my little spiel about the project in general. Do you know, I said to Gary, and I said to the person who wrote to me this afternoon, do you know, conjure up in your mind somebody that you think is an advanced stitcher. Why do you think she's advanced? Normally, today, you think she's got beautiful tension, which is always just a gift. And she knows how to do a really lot of hard things. So she picks up a pattern and she does the really hard things and she does them so beautifully. And you say, oh, she's an advanced stitcher. There's another element. What happens if you give her the pattern and you take all her threads away? What does she do?
Yeah.
So that I think that a part of becoming an advanced stitcher, and something that in my generation of needlework teachers we neglected too much. What do you do if you have to make changes in things? What if you decide, I don't like this blue, I want to use another blue? How do you cope with it? And people today many of really wonderful stitchers just panic. So that's why I thought up Mystery in Saint Tropez. I thought, make the stitching so easy that the rank beginner can do it. So it's out of the way and you're not worried about it. Okay, now you change colors, Kathy's things, but you change them on your own. You go to your stash, whatever. You're going to struggle. Anytime you change what I did, there's going to be a struggle. This is a good struggle. You learn from it.
Yeah.
Is that a good introduction?
Yeah. So
So,
when you're talking about threads that match or are very close to the ground cloth,
mhm.
then we use that, and then then you surround them with
Mhm.
another color, and so then they become texture. Is that?
No, it's surrounding it. Think of it this way. Try using, do you know what value is? Light and
Yeah.
dark.
Yeah.
Lights and darks, when you have things and you're working in monochromatic anything, which is essentially what the red's doing. If you apply lights and darks and then another color, then you got a second line that set anything that distances that center red from the red on the Congress or the canvas is going to help set it apart. And you can
Okay.
do that by changing colors. You can do that by changing values, changing lights and darks. Lights and darks in this project are your friend. Make
Hmm.
sure that, do you know that there's a trick for trying that? If you have a bunch of threads and you're thinking about using them, plunking them on a black and white copy machine.
Yeah.
You want, as you look at that, you want a whole variety from light to dark, light to middle to dark, gray. And if they don't read that way, then go shopping in your stash for something that does. So that if you have, I saw somebody's mystery. And after a while, you get so you can read it without plunking it on the Xerox on the copy machine. But if I had plunked hers on the copy machine, I think it would have just come out a solid bit of gray.
Oh, okay.
So it's a good thing until eventually you learn how to see what's a light value and what's a dark value without plunking on a machine. But for somebody who's trying it, it's really a good idea to copy it and see. And you
Yeah.
want a rich variety of those lights and darks as well as colors.
Okay. All right.
I
But
don't know.
now is when I was learning photography,
Hmm.
and
Grayscale.
yeah, well, I was taught learn how to make a good black and white photo, uh, and then once you get to that point, then color will do nothing but enhance. But if you don't have that foundation, you'll even doesn't matter how much color's in there, you're not going to get what you want. You've got to be able to see that. But then also, I was taught that you need something that is in the picture that is white or nearly white and black or nearly black. Do you apply that to yours?
I tend to apply, I tend not to use, do you know, most people who follow my designs always comment that my colors are always muted. I'm not a vibrant person. I'm not a vibrant person in person. I'm not a vibrant color person. I try and it just doesn't work for me. But I appreciate people who do. Sometimes when they get too much vibrancy going on, what it does is it confuses my mind. I want to see if there's something vibrant, then I want to see something restful in between. So dealing with black, I don't very often use real black. So black work I sometimes do. White, I like a little white that has little, just isn't quite dead white.
Yeah,
Yes, but if you take a little bit off white and you take a little bit off the black, absolutely. That's what plunking your threads on a copy machine will teach you right away.
yeah, okay,
You'll see what it translates directly from what you learned in photography.
yeah,
So
okay. The
when you,
principles are the same.
yeah,
Yeah, okay. Because yeah, that's what I was talking. I mean, you can't really get a dead black. Really, in photography, it's hard to do, and you certainly don't want a white because that's blown out. But you want
yeah.
something short of white, so that you have both ends of the spectrum there. Yeah. Okay.
You just go Google a grayscale. You want something at both ends and all the way in the middle.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
things at both ends, if you've got a color that puts you, let's say that you've got a color that's just a little darker than a middle gray, then you want something light to work with, you want something dark to work with. That's what will set it off from the center. And you just, sometimes you think, well, she didn't do that. I'm not going to do that because it's not in the instructions. Don't think that way. Think, my design needs this. I'm going to try it. You can always rip it out.
Yeah.
One's best friend is a I hate to say this because it always gets me in trouble, is a bow and seam ripper. I personally have 75 of them. I employ them all the time.
Well, and that's the whole object of this project, as you said. The stitching is
Hmm.
simple. It's to
The sim-
play with the colors.
the stitching is not something you have to worry about. If you come across something that's in mind that you don't like, change it.
Yeah.
There's nowhere is it written in. I think that's a problem. I've come across this with my followers, and I have a whole group of them. They will not deviate one stitch from what I do. And I say, why? Think about the person who designed it. So since I'm here and that's what I do,
Yeah.
I will say, I woke up yesterday morning and I thought, oh, okay, I'll try this. Up at one, down at two, and do it for a while. I woke up this morning, don't like it, rip it out, put it with something else in there. By the time I finish the project, there is no history to it. I just woke up one morning and thought, oh, that looks good. I'll leave it there. So why
Yeah.
don't you do the same thing? There is no history to this. There is nothing that's going to make this any better if you don't do exactly what I do. It's going to make it a lot better if you don't do exactly what I do. This is a hard lesson. It's such a hard lesson to learn.
Yeah.
But until
Well,
you do, you're not ever going to. Those people who are really interested in growing, this is a visual art. Just like every other visual art, you got to figure out how to work it.
yeah.
And it's not, if you rip all the time, well, I'm going to bring this in because I wasn't going to do it, but I am. I had an unusual summer. I did a small figure, probably 4 inches by 3 inches. I spent better than 80 hours on it before I stitched it into the final place.
Yeah.
I got up in the morning. I started on a doodle. I went 8 hours for the day until I couldn't see anymore. Next morning I threw the doodle out and started over again.
Yeah.
And it was really an engaging, it sounds terrible and I thought I couldn't do it. In the end, I did it, but not without a lot of struggle. And I think that that's an important part of, I learned a lot. I learned a ton so that all the ripping I did, all the throwing out I did, oh, so that's what I should do. That looks much better than what I was thinking of yesterday morning. I don't know. This is a hard sell to the needlework world, but it's how
Well,
you grow.
yeah. When I interviewed with Sarah Dennis from the UK, that was one of the topics we touched on. Is in America, we are taught through example or whatever to execute other people's designs as they design them.
Mm.
And then in Europe, it's the reverse. They
Yeah.
don't make up your own thing. Create your own design, create your own colors, and it's a complete opposite of how we go about things. But it's for us, it's hard to break out of that.
I think that one of the ways of looking at it is I understand. I taught a class when I first started doing needlework. I taught a class that started with a blank canvas, and that was the last time. People, it's just too intimidating. Start with a design you like, but when you run into something, if you don't like a color, change it. If you don't like, if there's some aspect of the design you think, I think it would be better. Why didn't she do this? Try it and see. You can always rip it out and go back. You got the pattern there.
Yeah, yeah,
So that you just adventure forth a tiny bit and bring a bit of yourself to it. It makes for a lot of excitement.
yeah,
And I think that the Europeans are right. They're all for that. We're right. The people who do these beautiful samplers who are so precise, I mean, they're wonderful. But I would like to advocate in my waning years of being in this field that you just try a little bit to adventure out on your own. Use my pattern. It's like a trapeze artist. Soar. You got my safety net underneath you. Then you can look back and see what I did, and you can elect to do it. And if you have a couple of bow and seam rippers right there, you can just rip it out in a minute. You learn a lot from ripping. I
yeah.
really advocate it. I do it every day. I rip more than I stitch, more than remain.
Before we started, Jennifer was getting her stuff out. Let's take a look
Yeah,
at and talk about what she's got going, because Jennifer is doing. Okay, there's Jennifer. Can you see it, Gan?
I can see it
Okay.
very well. Jennifer, can you zoom in a little bit on the center? That
I know
worked
I'm
out. So I think
Here.
you were lucky.
Here, Jennifer.
Or
Let
maybe
me
you were just
sit
brilliant.
tight, Jennifer. Sit tight. Let me see what I can do for
There
you.
go.
From
No,
here.
that's
okay.
fine. Just add it.
Oh, there you
Oh,
go.
yeah. All right, now Jennifer, show them the thread that you used. I thought that was really interesting because I never would have guessed it would have come out that way. Can you
I
reel off
used,
part of it so that we can see a length of it?
let me put down
If
the
it's
thing.
not, if it's
Yeah,
going to be
just
too awkward, don't do it. But
No,
I
it's
That's all
think
right.
you
fine.
were just lucky in how you got that. Now that's what I mean. Look at that. See that vibrant pink center? And then there's a quiet, it looks like it's a whitish greenish around it.
There's
Whitish, and then it goes to
blue,
greenish.
it's a light blue, and then it's a yellowy green.
And isn't that, see how
So,
the pink goes, oh wow, look at me, and then you have that blue white, a whitish part,
yeah, it's like
and
blue,
so it rests your
blue,
eye so
and
that you
then
could really
yellow.
appreciate that center. See, if you did another thing that was
Yeah.
just as strong right around the center, your eye has no place to say, oh, I appreciate that center, let me see it. The blue gives it some spacing and sets it up like kind of like a frame of it, and then suddenly you come in with another. Now I want to know what you're going to
Yeah,
do
and
now.
that just happened. I didn't plan that. I didn't do anything special. I just did an away knot and started going, and it just did it. And I'm like, ooh, look at that.
Yeah, look at
There
that, and
was
I'm pleased.
no
There,
planning whatsoever.
that is what I think we do too much of. We try to calculate before when I was listening to people talking about Mystery in Saint Tropez, they were calculating if I use this, then I can try this or maybe this, or they were mapping out, I've got to write this down, what I'm going to do. And I thought, no, what you do is see what Jennifer did. She just started. Oh, now look, she's got something really pretty. Okay, now what are you going to do to enhance that? Now what are you going to do next that enhances the whole thing? Just think as
Yeah.
you go. Let go and see, look at the colors, get a whole lot of colors out there, and
Yep.
just let yourself wander around. I see what I would do next, but I mean to see what I think you'd do
Okay,
next.
Jennifer, the question: what DMC variegated is that?
That is really
4502.
pretty. That came
Oh,
out, that, I don't know how you got that to come out that way, but that sure is pretty.
it just did it. I mean, and I did, I did one side and then I went over and I did the other side and, I went around. I
It
didn't,
just came, it just came out. It is really, I think that's what I mean about having your eye have a place to go, oh my goodness, look at the vibrancy, and then a rest that enhances the vibrancy.
yeah. And
I
I
get
mean,
my hands
there's
on
like
some
a
of that
little pink out
floss.
here, but But
And
that's just how it worked out with this little. But that's okay. I mean,
that pink's really pretty out there because now if you use just the same amount of pink out there, look what would happen to the design. So now you got to switch gears, and I'd switch
well,
texture
yeah,
too.
because now it's now the next thing is supposed to be some sort of. Well, I didn't do the little cross in the middle yet.
I'm not sure I'd do that.
Oh,
What would you
yeah,
do
I
it
don't
in?
know. I don't know.
Not the pink. You'll ruin it if you do the
No,
pink.
because then it won't show. I mean,
Right.
I
Well,
have no
consider just
idea.
doing nothing. Try it and see. You can always rip it out.
Yeah, I can
But I
always
think
put
that's
it in
really
later.
interesting.
I mean, I've got lots
Uh,
of Krynic.
what are you thinking of? What do you have in mind? I like the see those ones that are. What are those ones that are right out there that are yellow and then blue and then it looks like a purple and then
This
a turquoise?
this is
Yeah.
just some sort of embroidery thread that I used on a quilting project years ago that I just have sitting in the closet.
Have you got anything that, on my screen it looks like the last one in that row is purple.
It is. Yeah.
Have you got anything that's a little stouter and purple anywhere?
Oh, I only have a wee bit of this Krynic.
I like the other one better. What do you think?
Yeah.
I should say that before
So,
I tell you what I think. I got all
you know,
going on it.
I mean, I've got a little bit of Krynic. I've got a big old box.
So Gayanne, you're saying that purple but a thicker thread?
Well, unless she wants to put, I don't know what, I don't know what that thread is like to.
It's real
Mm,
thin. It's like it was going to be my silk substitute
Oh, okay. Can you put three?
because it's
Oh,
super
wait. Can
thin.
you move that ball so that we can see the center too? No, just move it to the side. Just right up close. Okay, now move the other purple down in the other quarter. So it's touching. So it's touching the ball. Yeah, there. All right. What do you think?
Whenever you're like in person, this purple has a little bit more of a plummy color, and this is
Mhm.
cooler. But I
It
mean, I
looks
guess it
like
doesn't
it
matter.
looks like the one on the spool has a little bit of gray to it in comparison to the plumbing
Yeah,
one.
yeah, for sure.
And it also looks like the plumbing one is a little bit stronger on the gray scale, and the other is a little bit lighter. Maybe the reflection.
Yeah, it might be the lighting. Well, it's pretty close. Yeah, it does
You
have
know,
a grayishness to
I
it.
like
It's
that.
a little muty.
Now you got two of them. Which one? Do you know how to answer that?
Oh, well, I mean, it depends on what kind of thickness you want. Like you said, I could put, 3 or 4 of these strands together.
The answer is don't
So,
overthink it. Just cut a bunch of one and try it, cut a bunch of the other and try it, and see which one of them it
yeah,
starts getting in there that you like. I already
yeah.
know what I
So,
think the answer is, and you don't want to get anywhere go on the outside of that. That should be sacred.
eh,
That little center, it just works.
yeah,
That's what
doesn't want
I'm
to stay
thinking.
put.
I'm being bossy about it. Uh,
That's
so
okay.
that now, what
But
is
yeah,
there next to see the pink, and then you said there's a baby blue, light blue. It looks like a whitish blue to me from
this is a
here.
blue.
In the
It's a
center.
light.
No, in the
Yeah, that's a.
center. Let's go back to the
Oh,
center for a
yeah,
minute.
this one here.
And there's the pink, and then and that's a whitish blue,
That's a
not
real
very much
light
color.
blue. Yeah, really light
And then
blue, almost whitish. Yeah.
Have you got anything that's the color of that green?
I've got this yellowy green here.
Yeah. Have you
I
got
don't
anything
know.
else that has any? Does some of the floss have that in it still? Can you separate out the floss? I almost like to see
Oh,
something.
they're really short pieces though. I
No,
mean,
no.
this
And I think you need something that's,
see the section is only this big.
yeah. So
That's
do you
the
have
section
anything
of the
in
yellow
your
green.
stash that's kind of that color?
Oh, maybe.
You know
So
what I'm wondering?
while she's looking, Gayanne, so what you're saying is that
I've got
center
a lot
diamond.
of
I think the center, until I got farther along, I would leave the center. I think the
Yeah.
center is a wonderful start. But I wouldn't mind. Do you want me to talk or do you want me to ask questions?
I have a variegated yellowy green with that blue in it a little bit.
You got
Pearl
anything
5.
that's lighter value, that's a little less saturated,
Mm,
a little grayer?
no.
Yeah, what's that? Oh, yeah,
This
there. What's
is
that?
3348.
Move
DMC
it so that we can
3348.
see the center. What would happen? This is just what I'm thinking out loud now. What would happen if you put one more row around that diamond in that green,
Oh, that would be cool.
and then you switch to the purple? It gives it a. Do you see what it does? It's just giving it just a teeny bit more punch, and teeny bit more removing the pink from the purple.
Right.
May not work. 90% of what I dream up doesn't
Yeah.
work.
And I mean, this is Pearl 5, but I do have, I could also do it in DMC stranded floss, or I
Well, I
could do it
kind
in
of like.
Pearl 5, I mean, to give
Why
different
don't
texture.
the answer to that is really simple. Try both.
Yeah.
I
I
like
mean,
the
it just
green.
give a
I like
different
the. It
texture,
just gives
so.
it a little bit. Keep it totally removed from that center. Just so it really. All right, now peel off 3 strands of the pearl. No, leave it there.
Oh.
The green there. I'm being bossy.
No, it's fine. I can do that. Oh, it doesn't want to cooperate. Thank you.
Oh, it absolutely never wants to come. All right, if
I
I
know.
were doing this, I would just stitch that in there and see. I think, okay. Now, the next thing is if you get that in there and you say, oh yeah, I like that. Then my next question is, what happens if the purple goes right up next to it? Maybe too much. So maybe remove it one thread out
Oh, right. This purple, this
so that
light
you leave
purple.
it. And you probably need more strand. How thick is that? Is that about like 1 ply of floss?
Yeah, or maybe even a little thinner. It's
A little
thin.
thinner.
It's like an 80 weight.
Ooh, that's really tiny.
Yeah.
Well, use 3 of them together and see what happens, and do 2 or 3 rows of that, 3 of them together. And
Yeah.
remember that it's probably going to work better if it's removed out a little bit so you let a little of the background come through. I'm just guessing. I don't even
Right.
remember what you're supposed to do, but if this was, I would start with my Saint Tropez and then I'd think, oh, well, I don't need to worry about all that. This is much more interesting. And then I'll go back to the pattern when I get that center looking just the way I wanted it. I say, okay, now that center's not the one that I did. I would say if I were you, I'd say, well, that's not what she did in the center. So what? Go back to the pattern and now see what you can pick up on it from
Mm-hmm.
the pattern and think, what am I going to do next? And you just I think the reason I'm stressing this is don't overthink what you're going to
No.
do. Just let it roll off you and say, that looks interesting. Okay, I'll try that. And then when you get
Yeah.
something you like, leave it. And you can always rip it out if you come across something else you like better.
Yeah.
And I
That's
think
kind of what I was thinking. I
trains,
was just going to use
I
what I
think that
have
trains
and
your
use what
eye
works.
to respond to certain. All right, now the last thing before we started, you had that green container with things in it.
Oh,
Pull
yeah.
it up and leave it and tilt it so that we can see the inside. Kind of move the. All right, let's look at just this. Now, imagine if those were on your piece of fabric, how different they would look than they look in that green container. See how strong the green is?
Let's try it. This one has more colors to it, maybe.
But look at how the green influences it, dilutes the colors because it's so strong.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? All right, now take them out of there and put them on your ground fabric in the same position.
Ooh, shiny.
Don't they look different?
Yep.
That's
Yeah,
the reaction of
golds and
ground fabric.
browns and
Yeah,
reds.
look at how different they look. All right, now put them back in the green and have another look at the green. Out of all the color rules, I've said this so many times, but I'll say it again. Out of all the color rules that I ever had to learn, The two I remembered were just two, and they guide my life. Color changes according to the amount you use, just like we were planning around the pink,
Mm-hmm.
and color changes according to what's next to it. If you just
Oh,
remember those two
definitely.
things and always remain fluid about them, then it will help you when you decide. I think it's really interesting. I'm eager to see what you do, but that's how
I
I
know,
would
me too.
play.
Me too, because I don't know. We'll just see how I do it.
Now,
That's it. It's
the next thing out in the chart is those padded tent stitch lines.
Right.
So
yeah.
for me, it was, do I use a light colored thread or a dark colored thread for those
Which
lines? And the outside of my center diamond is dark. So I decided, I haven't stitched it yet, but I'm going to try a dark thread for those padded tent stitch lines, the four of them. And so now with this center, I wonder if you go light.
what I would do if I were doing this, what I would do is I would monkey around with the purple with a little more of the green. You don't want to get the green anywhere near the same proportion as the pink. So one
Mm-hmm.
row, maybe skinny more, would do it. You don't want suddenly if you get a lot of green, then it begins to look dead.
Right.
Once you get that decided, then I would monkey around with one more row of white and then see whether I like that or not. And then I would experiment with all kinds of different things for those lines outside it. I wouldn't rule out anything, but I'd
Right.
establish the center to where I really liked it first because it will help each thing that and now what you're doing, is you're establishing your focal point. Once you get your focal point, you do the next supporting thing is the next closest to it. The next supporting thing is as you circle out from it till you get to part of the design as I remember, then again, it becomes a sub point. So what you're trying to do is excite your eye and then rest it. So Gary's right. If he's got a lot of light in the center, probably want to try dark. How dark? That's what I would question is how dark and how vibrant. And that I wouldn't know until I got this established. That's exactly the way I work. I start with really basic drawing. I don't like to block myself in too much. And then I just play around until I get something I like. And I think, oh, that's nice. I can help to do that. And that's what I would love to see some people like you, Jennifer, do. It sounds like you're on that track already. Is don't pay too much attention to my instructions. Use them as a crutch. Use them to go back to
Mm-hmm.
and say, okay, I need something out here. Okay, what's she got that might look good out there?
Right.
And try it. But you don't have to wedge yourself to what I did. It gets much more
Right.
exciting. And you
Yeah,
can
like,
always rip it out and return. You've got the safety net of my instructions.
right.
But doesn't it get you,
Yeah.
kind of grab you and think, oh, I wonder what would happen if I did this or this or this?
Yeah, because I want to
And
use
that's
just
what that,
stuff I have, so I even have some fancy little bits of art yarn down in the basement that I got as
and that
samples
might be
from knitting
interesting.
things. And some of it's sparkly, and that could be interesting too. So, but I have to see what's in there. I don't know if it would go,
And you have to, and above it all, what I find too is that when you get to a certain point, you're beginning to get there now. What you want to do not impose yourself on it. Let it tell you what it wants to do so
Oh,
that you
yeah,
may
for
like
sure.
that, but no, I don't like that. The center will say, not boasting me up enough. So that you listen to your piece.
Definitely.
And
Yeah.
then it comes out. And if it comes out different from, I don't think you get any great rewards for just making mine. What you get great rewards for in general is experimenting a bit. Since it's simple and since you can return to it, and since it isn't large, and since it isn't intricately interwoven, you can it gives you an excuse for some simple stitching to experiment and play.
Yeah. I think it'll be
That's
fun.
that's the fault. I'm can I whine for a minute? I'll whine.
Sure.
When I was a guild teacher for 25 years, I wandered around and taught for EGA and for A&G and for Callaway Gardens. And what they did was, as the demands for seminar grew, the environment that we were in became so difficult for us to be heard. People were so many different levels, etc., that we did all the heavy lifting. We teachers, we made a mistake. We did all the heavy lifting, so that sorry, the military's going by.
Yeah.
All that, it'll be through in a minute. We need them, so that's fine. They're out over the ocean. What we did was we did all the heavy lifting, and so you could sit there and make pretty patterns. But what happened was, what it became was, then you didn't think about what we did. You only looked at what the different threads were and what the different patterns were. And now I'm trying to bring it back to, let's think about what the design looks like.
Yeah.
Make you all think.
What is the fear that people have changing? Is it just that it's leaving a comfort zone?
I think that it's like if they just done away with grades in grade school, it would have helped. I think that you somewhere along the line, somebody, well, I know when it happened. It never happened to me, and I was really lucky because when I was in grade school, they decided I could draw, so they encouraged me. But they said, "Oh, Johnny, what's that?" And Johnny said, "That's a rocket. Don't you recognize it?" And the teacher would say, "It didn't look like a rocket to me."
Yeah.
And Johnny was crushed. They should have said, he should have been encouraged to keep going with the rocket as he saw it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that, I think, is when it gets killed, so that you come out of grade school. I had an art teacher one time who was just great. And he said, all little kids can draw. All little kids draw. They float, they do these wonderful, magical things. And by the time they're out of grade school, it's dead because the teachers have beaten it all out of them.
Well, it is true.
So that's what... And you're so afraid that you're going to ruin a design. Never, something, I gave up, I stitched 4 queens, and I gave up stitching queens because everybody was so paranoid about them. And I thought, well, it doesn't matter. Just do something. Well,
Yeah.
It wouldn't be exactly like yours, so what? Be better probably than mine. There are a lot of people out there who have stitched a lot better. Somebody showed me an Eleanor the other day, posted an Eleanor, and I thought, oh, I wish I'd made mine that way. She jeweled up in comparison to mine, and I thought, oh, what a good idea. But see, all these nervous Nellies would say, that bead is off 1 stitch. What are you going to do? It's going to be terrible. No, it's not.
Yeah.
How do you think it got there? That's what I always wonder. I always think all these people, they think it's just made in my mind. It's made, I sit there and stitch and rip and stitch and rip and stitch and rip until I get something on. I do exactly what I was doing, what Jennifer and I were doing. That's the way I work. Well, let's see what this looks like.
I think you hit it on the head, giving grades, because then if you don't match what the teacher expects.
Where are the needlepoint police? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
I've been in needlework for 50 some years now. I can't believe it. And I never met any of the needlework police. But my followers, so many of them are so afraid. What's that? I have been asked the craziest questions, and I stopped. Finally, I took a new slant. I thought, you know what? Doesn't matter. Somebody wrote me not long ago and said, I don't understand it on page such and such and such and such. And I said, neither do I. Just make it up. But then it won't be the same as yours. So what?
Yeah.
So here is this simple little pattern. I don't think I could invent one that was much simpler than Mystery in Saint-Tropez. And if you don't like one of my you look at all the corners and you think, I don't like any of them, I want to try this. I like this from this and that from that. Then combine them and see what happens. Take time. You know what? People think, I don't want to waste my time ripping. But it's not wasted time. What it is cleaning your eye. And that's what we all need to do. If you're going to progress as a needleworker, you have to remember that this is a visual art. And it is governed by the principles of visual expression.
Yeah.
There.
Well, and I think the artists through history, they're the ones who, even though there were grades in school, they just persisted in their own vision. And the people who are creative today. That's just, yeah, that may be your rules, but I'm not going to follow them. And I don't know how many Royal School of Needlework people that I've talked to that once they leave the school, then they start, they have that foundation, but then they start using their creativity and doing their own thing the way they want to do it. But always have, like you said, the safety net of the Royal Schools teachings is always there. But they can now go out and express their creativity. And but yes, for so many of us, it's just completely beaten out of us that.
So can you get it back? That's what Mystery in Saint Tropez is all about, is getting back that. Just trying a little bit. For one thing, who do you ever have to show it to? If I do something I don't like, I don't have to show it to anybody. Who's going to beat me? My husband says that all the time. I always have to bring him in. I think he came home one time from class and he said, "Oh, kid was so interesting today." I said, "Why was he interesting?" "Most offbeat theory I've heard in a long time." He said, "It didn't work, but it was so fascinating that he thought it up." So I said, "What grade did you give him?" And he said, "Oh, I gave him an A." I said, "Even if it didn't work," he said, "whether it works or not doesn't matter. It was just interesting. I was very entertained and interested through the whole hour." And I think of him, he went to a good graduate school. And I think they made him more offbeat in that good graduate school than they would have been in a mediocre graduate school.
Yeah.
They say,
Yeah.
he said, always said they rewarded individual thought, thinking through a process in a different way. You always got, they themselves, if you think of professors who are in good schools, who have usually substantial degrees and have taught in good schools, and you'll find they're always off slightly. They never, I think they have their individual way of looking at things.
Yep.
And mine really is that way. He's gone. He left. But really that way, and I learned that from him all the time. He said, "What does it hurt to try?"
Yeah.
And the other thing along with this, Jennifer, I have one more piece of advice I almost forgot to tell you. When you have your pink going, which I hope you keep that. Type in Google pink. Pink, what colors go with pink? Illustrations using pink. Illustrations using green and pink. Illustrations using green, pink, and white. And start a file keeping those. You'd be surprised at how much you can learn from them. Pinterest, just go through this and that. You won't use any of it, but it might just give you another idea of, gosh, I didn't think of that. Maybe that's a color combination I might try. Nothing to do with needlework, but it just gives you, and what you look at in those illustrations is proportion. What proportion is the green to the pink, and how much proportion of white? Don't get them too similar. Make narrow lines, and just as you want a variety of the grayscale, you want a variety of sizes and shapes and the space they occupy on the design.
Right.
I don't know, I'm talking too much. You guys.
One thing that you mentioned, Gayanne, suggesting that she put another line or two on the center there, and then move things. So then now, that's another aspect of it, is we start to now say, well, all right, then is it okay to make the overall piece bigger?
Of course.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, expand it out to get the look that you want.
Yeah, what you keep looking at is, what you have to do is give up the idea that you have to remain slavish to my ideas of things. You don't. The second thing is, always watch proportion, watch shape, proportion, watch line, how it goes. I have a general rule of thumb that I've loved. It's the only thing of mine that ever went viral that I wrote on my website a long time ago. I had a general rule. There are three parts. There's texture, color, and line, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen, I saw a piece one time that somebody took me to see, and it was so gooped up. And they asked me what I thought of it, and I said, my answer was diplomatic. I said, I'm from a different stitching generation, and we paid more attention to to what was happening in the design. Now people just want to have 60 threads on the design. But in the back of my mind was going, I heard a little voice in there. I was looking at this. There must have been 60 threads and 60 stitches on it, if anything. And I looked at it, and you know what was going in my mind was I thought I heard a little voice. And the little voice was saying, help, help, let me out of here. And it was the design. There wasn't any.
Oh,
So I have a rule of thumb that I apply. If you have a lot of, if you use 2 out of the 3. If you have line, if you have texture, and you have color, use 2 out of the 3. If you have a really busy line and a really busy texture, keep the colors simple. If you have a really busy texture and really busy colors, keep the lines simple. It's just a starting point. It doesn't always work, but I like the idea of it.
yeah.
And just keep it basic to start with.
The whole
But that's my
idea,
generation.
the practice of having your eyes have some place to rest, is that a
Hmm.
conscious thing in your design? As your, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what? I had a friend who took a class one time, and it was a figure. And she called me up and she said, you know, this class, it was a really expensive class, and the teacher was really well known. And she said to me, you know, I asked her where I should start. And you know what the reply was? It was astounding to me. The reply was start with the bottom of the skirt because it's the biggest area.
Hmm.
Do you know what's wrong with that? Where's the focal point? You look at a figure, what's always the focal point? It's always the face. You always do the face. You do the things around the face next. You radiate out. You're really careful with those things that are right around that focal point of the face. You don't have, you miscount out in the border on the bottom of the skirt. What do you care?
Yeah.
Doesn't show. Because you're looking, everybody's busy. We're human beings. We look at faces. All right, now on Jennifer's piece, and on this thing, that little pink thing she did, that's the center of the design. That becomes just really important. What you do to that, now everything that you do around it is going to react to leaving it with its strength.
Mm-hmm.
And what I could see is that you could rip it out, or what I would do is set up a second and try a little bit more pink and see what it looks like. So that you have to beg, borrow, and steal from the pink and the so maybe I would like it if it were a little larger, and then I could have a little bit more white, and then maybe I could use that 5 green. I wouldn't know till I tried it. But if she leaves it the way it is, then everything you do around that's going to be to enhance that and show it off. Just like think of pretty ladies and what they do with jewelry and their hair and what they do with what's around their necks, things like that.
Yeah.
It's all to show them off. Well, that's all you're doing in your needlepoint. You want your needlepoint to show off. You've got to give it a chance. You can't just keep diluting it by withdrawing from the focal point area. Really
So,
true of
so
figure drawing.
in this instance, Jennifer has an excellent face, and
Right.
now it's what does she do with it?
Yep.
Yeah.
What she do that's going to make it even better. I have that. I'm doing a snow queen right now. It's driving me nuts because I think I need to do the turkey work next. But in terms of stitching, you should do the turkey work last. But how can I know what's going on around what the turkey work's going to do? It's right around the face, so I need it there to see what I want to do next.
Yeah.
That's identical to Jennifer's situation right now.
Yeah.
Is that pink big enough? I think you could go on. Jennifer, can we show that again? Can you go back to it?
Yep.
Let me show you what I'm thinking of. Okay, see that pink? And that pink, I like that pink really a lot. I like the ideas that we've talked about. The only thing I wonder, have you got another piece of that ground fabric, or is that the only piece of ground fabric you've got?
This is it. It was a
You got
smidge.
another
It was a
ground fabric?
scrap.
You got another scrap of something?
I've got other stuff somewhere, but smaller.
Okay, well, that's all right. You can make an ornament out of it. All right, try
Oh,
it.
right.
See, try it on a scrap. You could actually just try it on the edge of this. Try making the pink a little bit larger and seeing what you think of it.
Ah. Mm-hmm.
Now you could say, okay, no, I don't like that. I like this pink. But that's what I do, and that's where I think I probably drive people nuts. I always think of, okay, that looks really good. I love that. What if I tried this? Would I like it better? Probably not. But I'm not satisfied till I try it. That's what takes all my time. That's why it took me 80 hours. I kept thinking of other things to try.
The reading I'm getting from you, Gayanne, is that this pink and the way it is variegated with other colors, that you really like that, but you
I
have
do.
your mind is telling you you just need a little bit more of it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just thought of it. So I really like that. I would keep that. What I would do is get another piece of that ground fabric and I try it larger. See if I liked it
Yeah.
better. Chances
But then
are I
I'd have
wouldn't.
to cut.
Okay.
I'd have to cut and paste my threads together, and I don't want to do that.
Okay, then you don't have to do that.
Or I'd have to get a different pink or something.
No, you'd have to cut and paste them together. You know,
Yeah.
that is one thing I did want to talk about for a minute is using that overdyed thread that's in um, Mystery in Saint Tropez. People like mine, which was an old dye lot, you can't get again. Kathy told me it's called Saint Tropez. That's where the name of the project came from. And mine had a lot of purple in addition to the blue, and I really liked that. And people said, well, I can't get that purple. Well, you know what you do? You buy another dye lot. You buy another color of the over dye that has that purple, that has some purple in it, and then you add it, and you can't see where you added it if you're clever. So you can create that way. With your pink, if you add it on, I mean, you could add on another texture, but if you
Mm.
want it to just enlarge, then you would need to cut with the same texture to keep it. So your eye is telling you that that much pink belongs to that texture. But you
Right.
don't have to do that. It's just, I'm just tossing out. I thought maybe the purpose of my coming tonight was to try and break people away from the idea that there was only one way to do things.
Yep.
That you should use it to experiment. So I was looking at yours and thinking of all the things that
Oh
I
yeah.
would like to try. I love that. I would save that diamond regardless because I think it's really successful. That's just me. I saw it and really liked it. But
Thank
the
you.
story isn't told. You know, the
Well,
story
it's the
isn't all
very
there
first
yet.
thing.
But we'll see. But it's really pretty. I just like, it's very pleasing looking to me. It's got enough brightness, got enough contrast, got enough color change, size change. Gary,
Yeah,
am
and
I talking things that you
it
would
just
like
kind
me
of
to talk
happened. So
about?
you know.
Yeah. No, it's great. But see, you know, the other part that I'm picking up on this is that with this center that Jennifer has, now the journey begins, and
Right.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
And it gets harder.
and you have no idea where you're going to end up, but
Mm-mm.
the
Nope.
fun is getting there.
Why do you want to know? Takes all the
I
fun
didn't
out of
say I
it.
cared. I just said
No.
that.
But that's what I always think. I had a friend who went with me. I'd stitched something and she'd seen the drawing of it. And she was very accusatory. She said to me, you know, the final design didn't turn out anything like the drawing you did. I said, I know, never does. I like to be a soldier of fortune in needlework. I like to punt, see what happens. So I have to rip a lot.
Yeah.
I like the excitement of not knowing where it's going to take me. I always feel that I discover something along the way that I wouldn't have thought of if I hadn't. As I sit there looking at Jennifer's square, I think, what would I think of that the square that diamond generates in me that I might not have thought of if I hadn't done the diamond, or if I'd fixed what I was going to do and then just rotely did it? Where can this lead? That would be really interesting, and I can think of 24 ways of treating it.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is much more exciting than remaining slavishly true to something I picked up.
Yeah.
So can I tell you one more story?
Yeah.
I had a friend in London, my English days. I lived in London for a while. And I had my BFF like to stitch. And she asked me for patterns. So when we came back here, I'd bring her patterns. And one of them I brought was, Teresa Wensler had an English cottage. And I thought, oh, isn't that just wonderful? So I took it to my friend, you know, and she said to me, I'm never going to be able to stitch that. I'll never do it right. She said, look at all those leaves. And I said, so don't worry if you do it right. Just make leaves. There are a lot of leaves there. So make leaves. Doesn't matter if yours are just like hers.
Yeah.
She didn't buy it.
No.
She was
No.
trained, or she had to count them just exactly like it was on the pattern, or the pattern wouldn't come out right. I
No.
thought
Oh no.
instead you train
Some
your eye to look at the
on my
proportion of
rose,
leaves. You, a bunch of small leaves doesn't matter if those small leaves are exactly the way she did it.
yep, some of my leaves on the Rosewood Manor Spring Hill, they're not, some of them are not where they're supposed to
Hmm.
be, but I'm like, who's gonna know? I'm not changing it.
Well, good
I'm
for
not
you.
I'm not
Well,
moving
not
it.
only
I'm
that,
not
but how do you know
redoing
you
it.
didn't do it better?
I'm
Right.
just like, nobody'll know. So,
Not
Yep.
only that, how do you know that it doesn't look better? Your particular way of dealing with that makes yours better for you.
oh, it was just one or two stitches off. You just really couldn't tell. I mean,
So next
unless,
time, make more stitches off and see what happens.
yeah, well, you know. And then I did mess up one part in the bottom where
Hmm.
I was doing over two threads and
Hmm.
I messed it up and I got off. So I was in the center of the stitch. And so then my
Hmm.
other stuff, so I just did little compensating tiny
Right.
crosses and stuff to fill it in because I'm like, I'm not going back and taking it out. It's just,
Have you ever,
and you
wait till
don't,
you,
you can't tell when you look at it. You can't, I mean, I can find it, but it's hard to find it. But
well, why do you want to find, you know what, some of the
yeah, I
things, I
mean,
do that all the time. I can't count worth beans. So and I think, well, what am I going to do with this? Now I haven't got it. So what am I going to do? And some of the best things I've ever invented have been things where they were mistakes. And I had thought, well, what am I going to do with this now? This
Yeah.
is what I'm going to do. That's why when people say, oh, I didn't make it exactly like yours, I thought, oh, you don't want to know the story of how that got there.
Well, that whole mistake thing, the sampler that I finished last fall, there's 2 or 3 mistakes in there, and it was stored away for a while, and then we just got it framed. And I don't know, it was a month or so ago that we picked it up at the framer, and really happy with it. And I thought, wait, that's right, I had a couple 3 mistakes. And I tried to find them. I couldn't remember what they were and couldn't find them. And that said to me, why did I
How
fret
do
so
you,
much?
okay,
mhm.
Gary, stop and think. How do you get people to do that? That's what I want them to do.
Yeah,
I
but
mean, I just wanted to say, oh, well, I feel like doing this today, so I'm going to try it.
yeah,
Or the leaves, or Jennifer's, counting things, or your mistakes. What makes them mistakes? They're just
yeah,
variations. And if you camouflage, now if you go along and you are making cross stitches and you cross some of them in the wrong way, then you better make it look like it was deliberate, because that's noticeable. But you can do that too. Somebody can say, look at you changed the direction. I said, no, I know, look over here, I did the same thing. Doesn't it make it more interesting? It was an accident. I just didn't want to rip it out.
yeah.
That's why I
But
think people are so uptight about this. If I could find a way to free them, and if they only knew I don't share too much about what I do, because it it would scare people what I do and how I mess
yeah,
up,
well
and how
that,
I like some of my mess ups better than what I plan.
uh, uh-huh. Well that one, yeah,
Yeah.
that one really taught me a lesson. Here I am 6 months later. I can't even remember where the mistakes are. Why did I even care at the beginning? Yeah, we should just
Yeah.
because I
Well, I
tore them.
do.
Why did you?
Well, I wanted it exactly right, and I remember tearing them out and then realizing I'd made the same dumb mistake again, and I just moved on. And now I can't, I couldn't point them out to you if I tried.
What?
So pointless.
Okay, hold on a minute. What makes that right?
Well, it's a reproduction sampler, so I was trying to match it exactly. But
Okay, but what if the person originally who did it made it the way you did, and you did what she did? Then would
exactly,
you have to rip it out and make it right because she did it another way
right.
than you thought she did it?
And that's exactly the lesson I learned. What am I doing here? Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
Oh, worry
I
about
do
it.
trying to
quilting
get an A
too.
in the class is what I'm trying to do.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I do I do
And
quilting
A, you
also,
get,
and when I was quilting, the Amish always make a mistake in the quilt. The block's crooked, the blocks turn the wrong way. They always make a mistake because they say that only God is perfect. And if you try to
and
do
I
it
think that,
perfect, then
don't the
you're
Japanese do that too?
do they? I don't know. I'm not sure
I
about
think
that,
they
but I
do.
know
I
that
think they do that in
that's a
pottery.
quilting thing. So if anybody makes a mistake in quilting, they're like, "Well, it's not supposed to be perfect because the Amish say only God can be perfect."
I'm not sure that it doesn't become, I'm not sure that interruptions and things, if they're visually, have a visual component, don't keep it from being too sterile.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a whole element of design that starts that way that you keep, if you get it too mechanical looking. I don't know. I have another thing that happens to me all the time. I invent, and that's the one I stitch. And I learned to do this a long time ago. I could stitch it a lot better if I stitch it over again, but I get bored and the boredom shows. The
Hmm.
first one, mistakes and whatever else I did wrong, tension errors or whatever, has a vitality to it that the second one doesn't because it's more mechanical.
Yeah. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think there's that element. There's all that element too of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think I'm keeping anybody? Do you think I'm getting anybody started?
I think so. Yep. I think you've changed a
I
couple
hope
of
so.
minds anyway.
Well, I
So,
just
Yeah.
think it doesn't matter, and
yeah.
it's distressing to me how much of this goes on. The perfection thing, I just can't do this because it's just not perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to be more of a perfectionist when I was younger, but then especially doing the quilting, you just really learn to let it go because you want to get stuff done, and you
Well, and
realize later that it
when you go
it
back,
doesn't
is
matter.
Gary, you really like your piece.
What's that?
Well, on your piece where you made the mistake, you really like that piece, don't you?
Oh, yeah. I like it a lot. Really
The
proud of
one
it.
you were
Yeah.
just talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I'm
think there's
over the
that element to
mistakes.
it too.
Yeah. No, I'm proud of it. Yep. It's hanging on the wall,
And
and
have you
it's.
ever, if you're in this four-way design and you make a mistake in the upper left-hand corner, whatever it is, just make the same mistake in the other corners and you're fine.
Yep. Yep. That's the jazz players rule. If you make a mistake, do it twice, then they think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. All right,
yeah, that's true.
we're gonna wrap this up. Gayanne, thanks as
Okay.
always. A real treat to have you. Really appreciate the time.
Well,
Yep,
well,
thank
let's see
you.
how the room evolves. And thanks, Jennifer, for bringing that nice model. That was really pretty. I mean,
Oh,
eager to see what
sure.
you do with
Just
it.
Yep.
Okay.
just
Okay,
what I threw
folks.
together.
Folks, send your emails quickly because I'm going to do the drawing for the flare and the cross stitch pieces. So send those if you haven't sent them already. And then if you're doing the mystery in San Tropez, or even if you're not, join the group there up at the top, or just search for Mystery in San Tropez and in Facebook, and then we'll add you in. And I'll go do that right away too, so that people will be in the group, and then post and share and ask questions and so on and so forth. And we'll just have fun learning.
And I'll visit all the time and see if I can get you past your phobias.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. Let me do this here. Okay. So there we are. All of us
Oh,
but Jennifer. Jennifer's work right there. There's Jennifer.
Yeah, there's Jennifer. Jennifer,
there I
thank you
am.
for that. I'm really looking forward to
Yeah,
it.
sure.
It's a really good
Thanks.
example.
Yep. All right. Thanks
I don't know.
everybody. Thanks,
Okay.
Gayanne. We'll see you next
Bye.
time.
Bye. Okay. Take care. What do I do to